Hi, welcome to today's episode of A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. Oh, and also it's your favorite daily podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about learning a new language and how that's going and how I'm doing it. So, some episodes back, I did an episode in Dutch where I was attempting to speak Dutch, and I haven't done another episode in Dutch since then. Although I have been speaking Dutch, but backstory: why am I even trying to learn Dutch? Aside from the fact that I live in the Netherlands now, where I have been now for almost 3 years. I can't believe it's been 3 years already, but that's by the way, or almost 3 years already. Like, I'm at the, I don't know, it's been a while, Sha. Like, it's just shocking to me that I've been here for, for this long. Because it just feels like yesterday that I left Nigeria. But anyway, so apart from the obvious fact that I live here, being a researcher and living in the Netherlands means that I need to do research with it. Like, if I want to work here, to do research with people who live here, it will be easier for me if I spoke the language. Is if I speak the language, if I spoke the, I think it's if I spoke the language sounds right, but I don't know. What do you guys know which one is correct? But anyway, feels like it will be easier for me in terms of like even just talking to the people that I'm talking to in my work, and then also like for my own personal career growth or whatever, being that I live here and for the foreseeable future I'm going to be here. I don't know what's going to happen for sure, like God can send me anyway, but for the foreseeable future, as far as I know, I'm going to be here for a while, so it just makes sense to learn the language. Before we get into the rest of the episode, subscribe if you haven't yet. Okay. So that's the why are you learning Dutch part, and why do you want to get to B2 this year? Because everybody's like, well, you don't have to get to B2 because like you have time to do the thing where you can become a permanent resident or a citizen. You only need to get to like A2 or B1. So why try to get to B2? Well, it's because for career advancements and growth, I need to get to B2. And the faster I get there, the better for me. Um, so yeah, that's the why. Then the why now, because again, I've been here for 2.5 years, or thereabouts. So why now? Why now is because for the most part, for the whole of 2022 and the better part of 2023, there was too much going on in my life, and I didn't feel settled. I felt like I was fighting for my life for basically like over 18 months since when I moved here. From when I moved, like the whole 18 months plus of when I moved here, I was fighting for my life. I wasn't settled. I was dealing with a lot of things. I didn't have the bandwidth, the brain power, the room to try to learn Dutch. I did do an A1 beginner class in like my second or third month of being here, but that was like that was it. And I just could not. I didn't have the bandwidth for it in all the leads you can think about: emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, all the lilies. I did not have any or enough to learn Dutch, but now I do, because now I feel settled. Now things are more stabilized. I feel a better sense of control of myself and of Sha. I have energy now in all these. So that's why now. And then how am I doing it? And so the how. How am I learning Dutch now? I've talked about it previously. I was using the app Busu primarily well before I started doing Dutch classes again. So I started doing Dutch classes again. I've completed the A2 now. I started from A0 again. I started from like the beginning, and I did a like intensive where at the end of the intensive you're finishing at A2, not A1. So usually you do A0 to A1, then A1 to A2, but I did A0 to A2 straight up, very intense. And I wrote my exam for it, not the official government exam, but just like where I'm doing the lessons. There's an exam that you do at the end of every level that you complete. So I had that exam this past Saturday, yesterday Saturday. And then the speaking portion is the following week, and then we get our is next Saturday, and then we get our scores. I think it was great, Sha. I don't know. I'll find out. I'll find out next week, and I'll tell you guys how it went. But I think it went really good, and So how, besides the classes, I do all the homework they give us, even though it's not compulsory. Like if you don't do it, there's no like continuous assessment or whatever. It's up to you to do the homework if you want to or not. But I try to do all the homework, or I tried to do all the homework because now it's done. For the A0 to A2 class, and then I also try to use the additional resources for the textbook. I went through the textbook, and then I try to speak whenever I can, like when I go out to places or when I call any service number, or when I'm sending an email. I try to type it in Dutch by myself without going to Google Translate first. Is then if I get stuck, then I might go to Google Translate for help. But I try to force myself to speak Dutch wherever possible. Even with some of my friends who I know are also learning Dutch, sometimes we'll converse with each other in Dutch as a way to practice speaking, because that's actually the most challenging part, practicing speaking. Because very interestingly, when you speak with Dutch people, especially in the Randstad areas, that's like Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Utrecht, the big cities, when you speak to people in Dutch, if they hear a slight accent or you mispronounce something, they just switch to English. They're like, I don't have time for this. And I noticed, especially with service people, which makes sense, right? You're a waiter, you have a lot of things to do with. You don't have time to try to help me figure out my struggling Dutch. So it can be a bit difficult, especially because apart from in those scenarios, I don't often meet a lot of Dutch people. But what I want to try to do, especially as I start B1 classes, is they have this thing called Tao cafes, which is basically, Tao is language, so language cafes. So it's just a group of people who come together every so often to speak to each other in Dutch and practice, or whatever language they're learning, and practice the language. So I will look into that for B1, but I didn't do any of that for the A0 to A2. Although at some point during the A0 to A2 classes, our teacher gave people who are interested a pin that says Spreek Nederlands met mij, which is speak Dutch with me. And even though I had this huge pin clipped to all my tops for a week, people were still speaking to me in English. So this is the struggle of trying to learn Dutch. And yes, I can learn how to write it and read it, but the speaking and the listening part is what I actually need for my daily life, because Google Translate can help me with the other parts, the writing and the reading and translating. Like Google Translate can help me with that, but the speaking and the listening, which is where I actually need to practice, is so hard, because most times people are not interested in like trying to help you. Although I've been doing my own practice wherever I can. Like the other day, I wanted to go to a museum with my friend, and I couldn't find like information about buying tickets online, and so I called the customer support line, and I had the whole conversation in Dutch. Like I didn't even switch to English at any point, so I was very proud of myself and happy that, oh, my school fees is not wasting. I also changed my phone language to Dutch, which has been very helpful in helping me pick up certain words. I'm trying not to rely on muscle memory for the apps that I use often, and actually read the text on my phone to learn the words. So that's helping me with like learning words, and also learning, like remembering my grammar. So like I've basically now learned the word of how to make a reaction to something or reply to something, because on WhatsApp, when I like a message or somebody likes a message I send, then there's the text U reageerde met heart emoji or whatever. So yeah. But yeah, so that is basically the long and short of why I'm learning Dutch, why now, why so intensely, and how I'm doing it. In addition to the classes that I'm doing, what I want to do next is the language cafes, and then also just force myself to speak more. Something I also do is like, even at home when I'm saying things, sometimes I'll say it in Dutch first and then translate it, or if I say it in English first, I'm like, oh, how can I say this in Dutch, and then try to say it in Dutch and see if I can figure it out. But yeah, that's it. If you have any language learning tips that does not include Duolingo, please, I am not going to do Duolingo, thank you very much. But yeah, if you have any tips, please share them with me. Thank you for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If there was anything you found interesting or insightful, or you enjoyed the episode, please do share to someone or multiple people. Like, leave a comment, and definitely do subscribe and all the nice things. Bye.